A horrific end to the Liverpool title parade. We'll tell you about the tragedy that struck the city on Monday night. The NPB minor leagues are reorganizing. We'll outline how and why. And a brand new addition to the F1 calendar in the growing roster of Southeast Asian circuits may be coming in 2028. All this and much, much more on this week's episode of the International Sports Report. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the International Sports Report, the week of Monday, May the 28th, Memorial Day here in the United States of America. Kind of a long weekend, and so we're not letting that get ourselves down. We are recording this rather late at night, but it is kind of that coming back from the holiday blues, MG. How was your weekend, man, before we get into it?
Not bad. Not bad at all. My hometown's got a nice crawfish and music festival they do every Memorial Day weekend, so that was a good time.
Ooh, ooh, I can smell it through here. Can
Oh
smell it
yeah,
through the Discord call.
had a nice gator po' boy.
Mm. Man, it's 10 o'clock on the East Coast and I'm hungry. Okay. All right, man. So we had a lot going on over the course of this past weekend. A couple title races
We
finally
did.
end. We had the marquee race of the F1 calendar in the Monaco Grand Prix. We'll talk about that towards the middle part of the show. And yeah, unfortunately, we're going to talk about what happened in Merseyside on Monday. And let's start there. We're just going to rip the Band-Aid off, I think.
Yep.
Oh, before we do, since you definitely have tuned in all the way up through this show's existence, make sure you like and subscribe. Down below the video screen, it lets us know that you like what we do for you here on this channel and helps us carry on making what we do to keep you informed and entertained week in, week out. Okay. Now, Merseyside is a place near and dear to my heart. I lived there for just about 2 years. It is one of the reasons why I am a Liverpool fan. And, seeing, let's just call it what it is, a terror attack happening right there on Water Street, a guy who just didn't really seem like there was any other core motivation behind it other than to do wrong, drives into a
Yep.
crowd in the middle of the Liverpool title championship parade celebration. The numbers are staggering: 65 injured, 11 as of Monday evening in stable condition in local hospital beds, and the 53-year-old suspect, who most people are saying was a Merseyside local, is in custody at the moment. His name has not been released. He has not made a statement to the public, so we don't really know why he did this. But among the injured, and this just breaks your heart, was literally just a guy who was on his bike delivering an Uber Eats order. Just
Oh,
got completely bowled down, bike destroyed, himself completely wounded. I believe he was one of the ones that pulled through, but it's just brutal to see, and it
yeah.
just doesn't really seem like this club can really have anything that's not twinged with some kind of
Yeah.
tragedy between Hillsborough and this. Obviously, Hillsborough was worse, but
Sure, but
still, just a
yeah.
brutal way
Terrible.
to end the season. Yeah. So appreciate us letting you talk to you about that, but we're making sure that you're informed of every aspect because that unfortunately did not make a whole lot of headlines in America on account of it being football. But it is what it is. The news cycle being what it is. So our thoughts are with everybody in the Merseyside area, and hopefully the community can heal sooner rather than later. On much lighter news, we had news coming out that the Japanese minor leagues, the farm leagues, are considering a reorganization from a traditional two-league system to sort of mirror the Central and Pacific League system to include a third league to cut down on travel and management costs. And that's really the only thing to it right now. But I mean, it's hitting minor league teams everywhere in every nation in which baseball is played. You might be familiar with the situation in the minor leagues now in America, but it's just becoming less and less profitable for these leagues and teams to operate.
Yeah.
So any reorganization rather, that can take place, I don't know about you, MG, but I'm all for it.
Oh yeah. Anything to keep the game alive.
Yeah, because these are obviously the big clubs have farm teams in these minor leagues, but there are other just sort
Right.
of eyeball teams and leagues or teams rather that are just in these leagues that are hoping of getting promoted higher and higher and higher one day, and just for the countryside as well. These teams that are
Yeah.
outside of the big metropolitan areas in Japan, they are vital. They are hugely
Absolutely.
important. And we
Absolutely.
with the both of us living in the southeastern United States, we know a thing or two about localism in minor league baseball.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see what happens. The final decision is set to be made at a meeting with both major league staff and minor league staff in July. So we'll keep you updated with that story. And then finally, a new circuit possibly being added in 2028, a street race. Literally, I cannot get over how excited I am at this prospect. One night in Bangkok.
Absolutely.
Thailand possibly joining the F1 calendar. Huge news. I'm so excited about this. F1 boss Stefano Domenicali meeting with city officials recently, and talks, according to him, are progressing quickly, and we might have a new home race for one Alexander Albon starting in 2028. That would be cool for him.
Yes.
And Singapore, I don't know about you. We'll get into this when we talk about the Monaco race, but Singapore is probably my favorite race on the calendar right now. Just because of how unique it is. You have the night, you have the heat, you have the corners, you have the crowds, you have every single thing. It is such a wonderful physical test. And
Absolutely.
it just has like I don't know, like Speed Racer F-Zero vibes. It's the closest we're going to get to real life F-Zero in places like that. And so if we get one more race like that, when you add Shanghai and Singapore to Bangkok on there, that's just really, really exciting. And it definitely are saying that this would definitely be a street race in Bangkok. They're not talking about building a new circuit in the country, despite several already existing on lesser racing circuits. But those are your three top stories of the week in terms of world sports. But without much further ado, let's figure out how these title races ended, because we did have Italy coming to a close and a fourth place finish for the ages in England. Without much further ado, we're going to go to our Games of the Week scoreboard. Beginning in England, Newcastle versus Forest, it was a crazy finish for the race for the final European football places. Carlos Alcaraz for Everton barrels one past Nick Pope in the 65th minute to give the Blues a 1-0 victory, and the other Blues, Chelsea, Champions League football, courtesy of Levi Colwill's goal against Forest. Chelsea 4th, Man City 3rd, and Newcastle 5th on goal difference is how the top 5 places in the Premier League laid out. And then the only other league action in football was, of course, Serie A. Napoli had a very simple way forward, win, and the title was theirs, and that's exactly what they did. 2 Premier League cast-offs in Romelu Lukaku and Scott McTominay striking 2 past Cagliari to secure a title for Napoli and confirm Inter's collapse. Napoli has won the league. Inter still has the Champions League final with PSG yet, but definitely they will be left scratching their heads. Weekend series in NPB starting with baseball, Lions and Marines. Marines coming up with a shock win in Game 1 versus the Cebu Lions, putting up 9 runs to back Kazuya Ojima, but Seiya Watanabe just keeps getting hits, getting 3, including a home run in that first game, 9-3 Marines in Game 1. The Lions storm back in Game 2, 3 home runs, courtesy of Shinya Hasegawa, Mania Nishikawa, and Tyler Nevin. And that supported ace Tatsuya Imai going 8 innings strong, surrendering just 1 run on 5 hits. Lions even the series with a 6-1 victory. And then Cebu won the series the next day in a blowout Game 3. Chihiro Sumida does the Lions' share of the work in a shutout performance. 3 hits from Sosuke Genda and a pinch hit home run from Leandro Cedeno power the Cats to an 8-0 win and a 2-1 series win. In Korea, Landers and Twins. It was a great series, but not as good as the one with the Eagles and the Giants, so well done to you if you were able to see both. But Sun Ju-young surrenders just 1 run in Game 1, keeping his solid ERA of 1.29 intact, but Austin Dean's home run is the difference. And the leaders take Game 1 over the Landers by a score of 3-2. Landers win a squeaker in Game 2, getting the better of Robinson Chirinos for 4 runs on 7 hits, and SSG cobbles together just enough in a staff day to keep the Twins down. But homers from the great Choi Jung and Ko Ming-jun prove the difference and earn the Landers the win in Game 2, 5-4. And the Landers bullpen gets shelled in Game 3. Austin Dean homers in all 3 games of the series, and the long ball was the Twins' friend as they get 3 in the game to win it 9-3. And then finally the weekend series, Lions versus Brothers in the CBPL, the rivalry battle, and the Brothers win all 3 games in a dramatic flip of the 2025 script so far. Sun Cheng-jui goes 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs from right field in Game 1 to back an 8-inning gem from Humberto Castellanos to get the better of Brock DeShorn. 4-1 Brothers in Game 1. A huge 4-run sixth sinks Felix Pena in Game 2. Brothers third baseman Huang Wei Sheng has a great day with 4 hits and a run scored to win the game 7-4 and seal the series win despite Brothers pitching surrendering 8 hits. An early 2 spot in the first and another 3-run fourth seals the sweep for the Brothers, starting with another great game from their center fielder and leadoff man Yu Cheng Hua, who went 3 for 5 with a home run, and at the other end of the lineup, catcher Linwoo Chen-wei went 2 for 4 with a run scored and 2 RBIs, those 2 hits being a double and a homer. Brothers win at 6-4 to sweep the series and put them half a game off of first place. And that segues us nicely as we take a look at the tables as they exist as of Tuesday evening. Hanshin in front in the Central League of NPB, but it is a tight one. Holy moly, caught behind by a game. Giants a game and a half, Bay Stars 2.5, and the Dragons and Swallows a little further off the pace, 6.5 for Chunichi and 9.5 for Yakult. But over in the Pacific League, boy is it a meat grinder. 1.5 games for the Cebu Lions behind the Nippon Ham Fighters. Oryx just a half game behind the Lions in 3rd place in Pacific League. Hawks getting to get together. They're 4 games off of first, 2 off of that final playoff spot, 5 for the Eagles. Marines still pretty far back, 8.5. Twins, Eagles, and Giants still your front 3 in the KBO as the Eagles continue to make the Twins sweat, but not as much as I think they would like, as the Giants are a half game from taking that 2nd place spot away from them. And then finally in the CBPL for baseball, Dragons in front by just a little bit, but the Lions and the Brothers are both breathing down Wei Chuan's neck. This thing is going to shuffle like a deck of cards in the next few days, and I am here for it as the first half nears its end. No football tables whatsoever, with action concluding this week in England and Italy, which means no football games of the week ahead, so we go straight to NPB. Carp versus Tigers in the weekend series at Koshen, back in Central League for the first time in a while, and the Tigers could really pull away from the Carp with a good showing at home this weekend. They're playing good baseball right now. Midweek series in the KBO, 1 versus 2, Eagles versus Twins, 3.5 games between them, the two hottest teams in the nation. Cody Ponce and company on the mound against Austin Dean and the Twins hitters. This will be a really fun one. Pick this one up on Thursday. Twins currently 1-0 up at the time of recording in the series. And then finally in the CBPL, the weekend series, brothers are set to take on the first place Dragons this weekend, with first place on the line and the first half near its end. Hot ball happening in Taichung, but isn't enough to get them in prime position to win the first half. And then, of course, we got to tackle F1 as we go to the results from Monaco. As we have our order of finish for the Monaco Grand Prix, Lando Norris getting the win, Charles Leclerc just behind him. Oscar Piastri wraps up your podium place in third. And, of course, it being Monaco, a couple of DNFs in Fernando Alonso and Pierre Gasly as the hapless year for Alpine continues. Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, your top three in the Drivers' Championship, but George Russell and Charles Leclerc both nearing those podium spots. Horrible weekend for Mercedes, but a great showing for the Monegasque driver in that Scarlet Ferrari at his home race. That is the situation as it stands. Time for us to talk racing. All right, time to talk Monaco. It's a classic race. It's been around for nearly 100 years. I have to ask the question to start, though. I might be in the minority on this. The mandatory two-stop. It seemed to me like everybody was a fan of this except for me. Is this good or is this bad? What did you think?
I was intrigued when I learned that was going to be a requirement, especially after the events of last year's Monaco. I think we all know how that one went.
Yes, we do.
I don't think it accomplished anything.
I
don't think making it a two-stop really did much of anything except give us Williams' very interesting strategy that they employed this race.
Yeah, interesting is one word for it. I don't know. I think that you're right in that it didn't really affect the outcome of the race all that much, because it still exists in such a way that you have to win it on Saturday. That you win it on Saturday in the race, as Alex Jakes pointed out in the commentary. And that for me, it's, I don't know, man. It's not holding up for me anymore. It strikes me as just a little too, it feels like, putting bumpers on the Nürburgring now. It's just too much safety regulations for it to actually be an interesting race. I think with everything being so narrow and for lack of a better word,
the cars are.
Yeah, lack for a better word, dangerous. You can't really have a terribly interesting race anymore.
No, they might as well just be the qualifying sessions on Saturday.
Yeah,
and then just call it there.
Let us know.
Once again, Lando Norris won for the pole position, won the race once again.
Yep. Let us know down in the comments if you're watching this, if you've watched any other F1 content on YouTube that is saying a similar thing to we are right now. Because something tells me we are in the minority of hating on Monaco as a race. Because I think there's just this taboo thing, like we can't talk bad about it, like it's talking bad about Wrigley or something. I don't know. But it's like Imola. It's a track from a bygone era that strikes me as very out of place in modern F1. But I could be wrong about that.
You can't overtake. It's a parade.
Yeah. And it is. It really, really is. fair play to Lando.
Oh,
Awesome qualifying, and
new
he
track
was under
record.
pressure throughout most of that race, even on Sunday. It did take an awesome drive for him to win it, and that's
Yes.
exactly what he got. But again, at the end of the day, things got shuffled around because of the two stops, but the net race order didn't change. And
No.
I don't know. I guess there's a chance that it could have, but I gotta say, I was a little bit let down by Sunday, despite Saturday being absolutely incredible with Lando's record. Good God. Throw the number out for us, just so we can remember.
Uh, 1 minute 9.954.
In 2 miles. That's a 2 mile lap. Who does that?
It's
McLaren has a rocket ship. It's
it
amazing.
is the footage is unreal.
Yeah, it's terrific. You know something? I think he heard us talking about him in the start of the season, saying that he doesn't have the world champion chops. He absolutely does with a
Oh,
drive like that.
absolutely.
He's the Hanwha
He's
Eagles
just behind.
personified. But it's he had a great drive. This is not to take away from him at all. But
No.
the I think it's time questions ought to be asked really of the race. I mean, the circuit I believe has been extended for a couple more years. But at that point, really rack your brains here and
Yeah.
see if you want to renew. Look past the money, FIA, if you're capable of doing that, which I don't think
Yeah,
you
right.
are. But there it was. I mean, we also need to shout out Isaac Hadjar, who had a terrific
Yes.
race, being so young and talented, and doing that around Monaco in that RB. Well
Yes.
done to you, young man. That was terrific.
God, I hope. God, I hope they don't make him the new Red Bull second driver.
Ooh, not this year. Not this year. They've shuffled it
God, I
around
hope
too
not.
much. They've shuffled it around too much, and I don't know. I think they're just punting that second machine at this point.
Yes.
Aren't they, Red Bull?
Hajar is he clearly is very comfortable in that
Yeah,
Toro Rosso race, whatever you want to call him, Red
yeah.
Bull 2 car.
Let him develop, Red Bull.
Yes.
Just seriously, let him drive in that machine. He's not ready for prime time yet. Do not rush him. Do not rush him.
No.
He's going to be amazing. Just take your time. Great drive from Hadjar though to end up
Yes.
in fifth place. And
We have got to talk about Ferrari.
okay, I mean, well played for Shaw, but I think I know where you're going
Yes.
with this. We're going to talk about communication.
We we have got to talk about what in the world is happening between Hamilton and Adami.
I mean,
What is going on there?
there's friction. There's friction in the paddock that's never happened in the history of Ferrari.
Yeah. Hamilton will ask a direct question and get an answer to something completely different.
Yeah, I'm.
Uh,
Are you on Lewis's side here? I'm on Lewis's side.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm on Lewis. I'm absolutely on Lewis. He asked if he was still 30 seconds behind and got an answer about the tires other drivers had.
Like seriously.
He asked if he was in danger of impeding Max in qualifying and was told that he was not, and then lost 3 positions because of it.
Maybe
He flat out asked Adami if he was upset with him and received silence in response. What is going on?
here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do some research on next week's show. We're gonna provide you with an update on the work experience of Lewis Hamilton's garage staff. My theory is these are the rookie engineers. The rookie side of the
Have to
Ferrari
be.
garage is getting put on the number 2 Ferrari. And the guys with experience are going to work on Leclerc's machine. And to be fair, Leclerc and his engineer are not known for their simpatico communications.
No.
So
But
I
it's
don't even
not
know.
this.
There's just there just does you're right. There does seem to be a real breakdown on the radio, and I don't really know what the situation is. I'm here for it though. Let's see if it gets worse.
Yeah, something I came across is this week Ferrari have been attempting to poach Christian Horner from Red Bull and have so far been unsuccessful.
What a shock! Like that man is dumb enough to enter that paddock.
Right?
Yeah, I
Like,
really don't
where do
like him
you,
very much, but I would not wish that job on my worst enemy.
where do
Um,
they go from here?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
Ferrari obviously has had and continues to have a number of issues, but I mean, it seems like a solid move for Lewis on the off season when this news broke. Like it seemed like possibly a mutually beneficial situation.
Did it? I don't know. I don't know. I think that
I
there's just such public knowledge of the dysfunction in the Ferrari garage, and they haven't had a car that has been able to take them over the top for years. For
They
years it's
haven't.
been.
And I'm not saying that Hamilton, there was any delusions of Hamilton being a challenger for the World Drivers' Championship this
No.
season, but this is shocking to say the least. So
This
what's
is
next?
I don't know. This is the last thing I'm gonna say on this because I'm getting flummoxed and confused week after week on what to think of this organization. I think what we're dealing with is a tradition hard on, that this is an organization that is so far up its own tradition that they just are not going to adapt to the times.
Yeah,
And
I think you may be right there.
unfortunately, they have the money and the influence to be able to pull that off. That's what it takes to be able to
Yeah.
permanently bury your head in the sand is money and influence.
Yes.
And with it being what it is, I feel sorry for the Tifosi. I really do. I really do.
Yeah.
And for the drivers as well.
Yes.
Because can you imagine there's a world where Charles Leclerc drives in an Adrian Newey designed automobile.
Oh,
There's a parallel universe where that happens. What does that look like? Dream about it. Make a dream journal
better
down in the
than
comments
this.
down below. Tell us about it. We'll do the same. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was Monaco. Spain coming up this week. Another awesome street circuit. I'm looking forward to it. I think that I have a feeling we're going to see a surprise winner here. We usually do. I don't know who that is. I think it would be a cop out to say Sainz, but I'm going to say Sainz because
Yeah,
for the
why not?
Bants, yeah, why not? Yeah, why not? I don't think this is the week that Max overtakes either McLaren drivers in the drivers' championship, though. For
No,
what
I
it's worth.
agree.
All right, let's get into our fun topics. Talk
Yes.
about Olympic sports, shall we? We've been putting it off for a
Yeah,
couple weeks now, but we got
we
to get
have.
into it. I didn't wanted to do this for two reasons. I wanted to talk about how much I fell in love with judo over the course of the Paris Games, but I also wanted to hear you and let the audience hear you talk about fencing and what it means to
Yes.
you. So start with that. Tell us what your history with
Yeah.
fencing is and what your kind of I don't know, what your relationship to it is.
Yeah, so my background is in competitive fencing. It's something that I did for around 7 years pretty regularly through like middle and high school. My weapon was predominantly saber, then I transitioned to foil towards the end of my competitive career.
Hmm.
But it's something that I've continued to do recreationally in the time since. And now I also do theatrical fencing, which is it's a different side of it, but it's still
Hmm.
a sword sport.
Yeah.
Fencing is the fastest sport in the Olympics. The tip of the blades are faster than anything else that you will see
Really?
in major competition,
I didn't know that.
other than maybe a shuttlecock.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I don't know
it's
if it
between those two. I don't remember which is faster.
There's no way a shuttlecock's faster than a sword, though.
They are, you would not believe how fast a shuttlecock can move. It's
Probably not.
an astonishing number.
Yeah, Olympic badminton is fun for
It
what it's
does
worth.
not seem like it would.
Yeah.
But no, it's a very cerebral sport.
Mm.
It's a chess match in with swords. It's chess. Well, I say swords. They're not really swords anymore. They're pieces of wire with a handle. That's really what a fencing sword is. But it's one of the oldest sports in the Olympics. There has
True.
been competitive sword competition for most of human history. Really, the only ones that would be older are the wrestling and other martial arts
And
type.
the running.
Yeah, and running, of course, naturally. But yeah, you will see some just unreal body positioning, particularly in foil.
Oh yeah.
Foil is the lightest, the smallest, where your target is from the chin to the belt line, basically, excluding the arms. And they'll get in. I mean, you'll see some funky body positions.
Yeah. No, it is fun. I really enjoyed. I mean, Paris was a terrific Olympics. I'm gonna get this out of the way right
Yeah.
now. I know there's a lot of
Oh
people that didn't
yeah.
think they did a great job. They did a
Tremendous.
marvelous job. And one of the things they did well was choosing their locales and putting a fencing competition in a palace is just
Yes.
absolutely
Having
inspiring.
to walk down the stairs to get to the piece
Yeah.
was
Oh, it was
very
great.
fun.
It was so
Um,
great.
fencers fencers also have much stronger and more dramatic displays of emotion than many other athletes.
True.
Um, if there's a point that they feel they need to contest, they will whip the helmets off and get directly at the referee. They are it's the emotional displays are wonderful.
I think it's just there's something primal. I mean,
There is.
yes, they're wires, but let's call it what it is. It's fighting, person versus person. And
Yes.
when you tap into those kind of reflexes that are I think are just innately there in all humans. I mean, that's just going to rile up a certain type of emotions. That makes perfect sense to me.
Oh yeah.
So
It's a
yeah.
duel. You're fighting a duel
Yeah, you
with
are.
much lower consequences.
And because of that, I don't understand why it's not the most popular sport in the world. But I guess
It should be.
there's bare knuckle fighting to be fair, and like
Yeah.
fighting with hands. And I am not a boxing hater. In fact, I very much love boxing, but that's another story. Anyway, so that's fencing. I think that's a great choice. I'll add on to the Paris Olympics talk by how jacked up I got. I'm going to remember the day that I spent watching the team judo final in Paris live for the rest of my life. I remember where I was sitting down watching that, completely just enraptured and in the zone. Because it was some of the most bewitching sport I have ever seen. Did you watch this? Do you
It is
remember this?
awesome. Oh, I didn't watch live, but I have seen highlights
Oh
from
yeah,
the
okay. So you
judo
you watch
competition.
the footage. I mean, so the Japanese team takes a huge lead on the French team, and it's up to there's four members of a judo team from what I understand it, and it's up to the heaviest guy on the team, who is like in the case of the French, just it's enormous, like 6'8", muscular,
Mountain of a man.
just yeah, mountain, the biggest human being who I've ever seen who is actually in really good shape, and shiny bald head, just beautiful, just stunning to beat the Japanese heavy, and so he has to do that to keep the dream alive for the French to pull off this upset, and then he does. Puts the first points on the board for the French, I believe in this match, and that zooms it around to where the French are able to completely tie the match up and knot it up at 4-4 to set up a sudden death. And I think there was a wheel. This is coming back to you now. So there was a wheel that they ran on the scoreboard to
Yeah.
choose which weight class was going to be the sudden death match, and everybody was
Yeah.
like, "Is it going to land on the heavies? Is it going to land on the heavies?" And then it landed on the heavies, and they had to
Yep.
fight again. And this gorgeous man mountain of a Frenchman steps up to beat this sumo wrestler looking dude to fight him again, and it was the last breath. It came down to the last move. It was like, I think the round was like 4 or 5 minutes long, and it was just one snap move, and Teddy Riner wins it for the French, and the entire place goes bananas, and it was unreal. I mean, martial arts is fascinating to watch in
Yeah.
in movies. If you're watching it live, it's great, but that is peak athletics right there. And it was absolutely terrific. I'm actually going to link it in the description down below. Also, this card up in the corner of the screen so that you can see it because it is terrific. Watch it from beginning
Yeah.
to end. Block out the time. Trust us. You're going to thank us later. And do that in the comments on next week's show. Anyway, I'll throw out a few more, especially since we got the Winter Olympics coming up. I love skiing
Yes.
of any kind.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's fascinating stuff. It's really fun to do. It's hard to do, but it's really really fun to do. And I think I have the same relationship to skiing that you do with fencing. Something I've been doing my whole life, and something not to toot my own horn. I'm pretty darn quick on a pair of skis. Having grown up in the Pocono Mountains, but it's just this rush that you feel both watching
Yeah.
it and doing it. So you have ski jumping, that's fun. Ski racing, that's fun. Cross country skiing,
Yeah.
ski
Big
cross in
fan of the winter
particular
biathlon.
is bonkers. And yeah, that's isn't even mentioning biathlon. Thank you for picking that up for me,
Yeah.
because that's skiing with guns, and that's the one and only time I'm be like guns actually added to the sport. Anyway, guns added to something. So that's my skiing thing. I love skiing, and the running competition in the Paris Games in the Stade de France was some of the best I had ever seen in my life. Every single gold medal race was absolutely lit over the course of the 2024 games. That was awesome. That was awesome. Did you have any others that you wanted to throw out in terms of Olympic sports?
Yeah. So post my fencing career, I took up rock climbing. Started doing that in college.
Yeah, that was
Have
fun in
continued.
2024.
Oh yeah, it was fun. I have a lot of issue with the way it was set up at the Paris Games, namely making it a single competition. Is having having lead climbers have to also speed climb is like making a swimmer have to also run a 100-meter dash to qualify for a medal.
Huh. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I didn't really
It's
think about that.
so it, speed climbing is a bit divisive in the rock climbing community. I think it's a perfectly legitimate style of climbing, but some people disagree. Some more traditionalist folks disagree.
Hmm.
You're not really solving a problem. You're just memorizing a sequence of hand and foot movements and carrying them out as quick as possible, which is 100. I mean, it's the shortest event in the games.
Yeah. Oh,
Period.
yeah. It's really quick. You
Um,
snap your finger and it's over, but it is fun to watch.
yeah, it's just a completely different skill set from bouldering or sport climbing.
Mm.
I keep calling it sport climbing, lead climbing, really, I should say. Um, which is it's so that I mentioned fencing's a chess match. Climbing is also a bit of a chess match between you and the rock, you and the route that the setter has
Can
made,
you
which the
smell
setting.
what the rock? Sorry. You
The
set me up for
setting
that one.
at the Paris Games was excellent.
Mm.
Those routes were marvelous.
Yeah, that was it was
But
it was terrific
I don't.
stuff.
It should not be a combined event.
No, no,
It should
I
be a
think you're right.
team event or individual events.
Well, we'll see if they hone it for LA. I think it is still going to be on the calendar. I think it is still going to be
I
on the
believe so.
calendar. And maybe they'll change it. Maybe the massive climbing community in the U.S. is going to make its presence known. But we will have to see. Those are our favorite Olympic sports,
Yeah.
LA and
I would also like to touch on something that's going to be added in for this next one in LA,
oh, you want
which
to?
we got some big news about this week. There will be
Uh,
Olympic flag football, and the NFL will be allowing its players to compete.
I,
Can
I'm,
you say dream team?
mm, I'm so mad.
Yeah.
I'm so mad. So the minute they put American football, flag football, whatever, into the Olympics, the NFL's like, yeah, sure, why not? Let them do it. But the NHL doesn't let
I
its
know,
players compete in the Olympics. MLB,
which I think is a disgrace.
MLB does not let major leaguers compete in the Olympics and was basically like shadow like fining them and shadow punishing them for competing in the WBC.
Yeah,
But the NFL
which
like,
is
yeah, sure,
ridiculous.
flag football,
Yeah,
whatever. I don't like this. I don't like the addition. I got to be honest. This is just a transparent, like desperate attempt. It's just going to be a lock gold medal for the U.S. This isn't like basketball where
oh,
you're going to
yeah,
have a Latvian team that's going to challenge the
sure.
American Dream Team
No,
or a really good Greek team or something like that. Nowhere
it's going to be
else.
a slaughter.
Yeah, it is. I'm not going to be watching. Um, if you are and you're going to be entertained by that, then great. I'm not going to judge you for it, but I just gotta thank you for letting me get that off my chest. But because I was
Yeah, no,
furious when I
absolutely.
saw that.
I
Anyway,
I will be watching for the comedy of it. For the comedy of some, part-time French plumber probably who's going to be lining up against somebody like DK Metcalf.
this isn't going to be as fun as watching a Czech electrician strike out Shohei Ohtani in the WBC. But if you're going to find some comedy in it, partner, then good for you. But all right, that is our list of our favorite Olympic sports. But as we close here, we're going to find out if he cheated looking at our joint outline or not. But we're going to educate our boy MG on some sports history since he is rather new to the game in terms of sports, despite his solid athletic background, as you heard, in fencing. I wanted to talk about probably my personal favorite, if not top three favorite football players of all time. He ranks probably third up there alongside Johan Cruyff and Steven Gerrard in terms of guys that stir up the emotion who have played the beautiful game. His name was Manuel Francisco dos Santos, but his friends called him Mane. And he went professionally by the name of Garincha. One of the names that just brings you chills whenever you hear it. And I don't know, it might just be a function of like Brazil's connection with football. Because there's a lot of those guys who you can just say like the one name and you're just like,
Oh
oh
yeah,
yeah. Like I mean Pele is a perfect example.
of course, yeah, Pele.
But when you roll those R's and you conjure up the image of this mystical, strange man from the 50s, the golden era of Brazilian like international dominance. Yeah, he's up there with just one of the most magical athletes to ever live. And I'll tell you why. I'm using that word magic for a very specific reason. He was born with a rare defect that caused his left leg to be 6 centimeters longer than his right leg.
Huh.
No one really knows why. No one was able to really put an official medical diagnosis around it. But that wasn't all. Not only did he have a longer left leg than his right leg, but he also had feet that were turned in two different directions. His left foot rather, was turned outwards, and his right leg was turned inwards. He was born like that for some reason.
Doesn't seem like it would lend itself well to playing much of anything, really.
But not only did he walk like that, also did he play football and dribble like one of the football gods themselves. This is one of those rare cases where you use a defect to your advantage. It's like Isao Harimoto's burned hand. It's something that when you train enough, you can create something really unique and effective. And his dribbling
The
skills.
NFL kicker without a foot. Then he was missing his toes, and he kicked the longest field goal in history.
That is true. Oh man, but it allowed him to confuse defenders in one-on-one situations because the ball did not really move in a way that anyone was really used to pinging around his feet. And he could move his body with extra control and pull off skills that you wouldn't really think were possible with any other human being because he had a longer leg than the other. So he makes his professional debut in 1953 at the age of 20, already married with a kid. So he's got
Wow.
all that going on. But he's already impressing with these unique dribbling skills. But he was Brazilian in the 50s, and the Seleção's riches in attack were deep and boundless. So he was pretty routinely passed over for national caps until 1957, when he goes over to Europe after getting noticed by the Brazilian FA in 1958. He takes on Fiorentina in a cross-continental match in Italy, and I'm even going to show you his most famous goal, which took place in this match. Take a look. This is the way that his defect helps him. He's able to maneuver around this defender with much more ball control with his feet because they're curved in the way that they are. I think with all of us with extra nerve endings and feelings in our feet and two legs that are the exact same length, ideally, we're not able to move like that. We're not able to
No.
control the ball like that. But this goal was actually called the banana shot.
See why.
Yeah, you definitely can, right? But this is the idea. Is it, no one else played like this. He is a one of one, and this is why. But anyway, so his unique abilities allowed him to be one of Brazil's principal creators in the 58 World Cup, serving up beauties for the great Vava, another great one name player, and of course, the young Pele that helped the Seleção to their 58 title. And then 4 years later, in 62, no Pele for the final two matches, and that essentially allowed him to finally step into the spotlight where he belonged, thanks to his stellar dribbling and more insane goals like this one.
Oh,
I mean, you can't draw it up any better than that. This is why he's amazing. This is the magic. You see why I use that word? Hopefully you do. But
absolutely.
it earned him a well-deserved MVP of the 62 Cup. Scored once in an early exit for the Seleção in the 66 Cup before going out on top in 1973, finishing with a successful club and international career at the age of 40. And he was already a grandfather the minute he
Oh my
turned
God.
40, deciding that he wanted to use his money and his presence to be there for his family. Died of old age.
Good for him.
Just what a legend, right? That's a
Yeah.
feel-good story. We started with a tragedy, and we end on one of the greatest success stories in the history of football, right there. Mane Garincha,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. That's your history lesson for the week. Okay.
I do have one shout out I'd like
Oh,
to
of
make.
course.
I wanna touch on someone very, very dear to myself
Oh yeah.
as a Leicester supporter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Claudio Ranieri pulls off a miracle again. Brings Roma from 14th in Serie A when he takes the position in November. His retirement season, this is his final campaign as a manager, goes on a 19-game unbeaten run and just misses on Champions League by 1 point, but did secure Europa League for the Giallorossi next season.
Hoorah. I
Well done,
love.
King Claudio.
Yes,
What
indeed.
a career.
Bravo,
What a
legend.
career.
Bravissimo. Terrific career for Ranieri and a great season for a very underappreciated Roma team. And that's the mark of a good coach is, you can really get the best out of any players that you have in any given situation. The Italian Ted Lasso, ladies and gentlemen. Let him take a bow. Yeah, good looking out, MG. That's a great way to finish. We're ending on some positivity for you here in the end of
Yes,
May.
we are.
Indeed. It's been an action-packed episode. Hopefully you have enjoyed it here on the International Sports Network. That's going to bring this week's edition to a close, though. We will see you next week for a wrap-up of the Spanish Grand Prix, going all baseball, and this weekend, of course, the transfer window opens. So we will
Yes.
start the coverage of silly season, transfer season. Yes, indeed. That's when it begins. All that and more on next week's edition of the International Sports Report. But for now, please do like and share this video if you enjoyed it and you know somebody who would enjoy it right along with you. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon down below the video screen to be notified of every single new episode of the International Sports Report and much, much more because we are working on stuff and it's coming your way in June. For my dynamic partner, Matthew Gieske, to my left, I've been Marshall Lamert. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. But for now, that's the game.